Hello and welcome to the video. Today I'm going to be taking you through the top 5 gym bag accessories that you should be taking to the gym. These are just small little pieces of equipment that you could take to the gym with you, or if you've got a home gym, I definitely recommend getting these, and they are going to help improve a few specific factors within your training. I have all of these and I very much recommend that you invest in getting at least some of them. So without further ado, let's get to it. And coming in spot number 5 are grips, particularly these shorter style of grips. I have these bear grips. You could get some figure of 6 or figure of 8 straps. They're often used in things like strongman for deadlifting, but they take a long time to set up. So for ease of use and practicality, I prefer these bear style grips. The main utility they're going to have is for your back training. So one of the worst things that happens when you train your back is your grip often fatigues before your back. And the reason for this is every back exercise you do is fundamentally some sort of pull. It could be some machine row, it could be a dumbbell row, it could be a barbell row, it could be pull-ups, it could be lat pull downs of any variation. Fundamentally, what you're doing is pulling towards yourself to get the back to contract. And this means that you have to grip every weight that you're going to pull. Now, your grip muscles are obviously much smaller than your back muscles and they fatigue much quicker. They're much weaker. So one of the worst things that can happen when you're doing, let's say, a set of lat pull downs is your grip starts to fatigue, your hands start to slip, it's at the edge of your fingers and you have to stop the set before your back has been properly trained because your grip gave out. However, with grips, they basically eliminate the grip factor. Once you get a pair that are nice and comfortable that you like I say, I enjoy these bear grips because they're really quick and simple to put on. That will eliminate your grip from the exerciser and you can then adequately train your back. So the first little piece of equipment I advise you getting are a set of grips for your back training. Coming in spot number 4 are squat wedges, or you could get elevated heel shoes, or you can get both. Now, squat wedges are fantastic because by elevating your heels, they are going to remove your leverages from the equation of your squat technique. So some people have short femurs and that will allow them to squat very upright and make it very quad dominant. That is usually what you're trying to hit when you're doing squats. You try and send your knees forward and hit your quads. Obviously, it's also going to involve the glutes, the hamstrings, the calves, and if you're doing something like powerlifting, you might be doing a low bar style squat and just trying to move the most weight. But if you are trying to grow your muscles, primarily squats are used for an overall leg developer and specifically to target the quads. And by getting an elevated heel wedge, what that allows you to do is remove the length of your femur from being a factor. So people with short femurs, people like Tom Platz, who used to do loads and loads of squats, nicknamed the Quad Father, was able to do his very upright squat stance because Tom is a shorter gentleman and he has shorter femurs. So that meant that he could stay upright without falling backwards. A lot of people with longer femurs, this includes myself, if I tried to squat upright like Tom, as soon as I started to even vaguely approach depth, I would fall backwards. However, if you get elevated heel wedges, this will allow you to do that very upright back position squat without falling over. You can then target your quads very well. You send your knees forward and you're able to grow those legs better. So the next piece of equipment I advise you get is to get some elevated heel wedges. They're going to really help improve your squats. And coming in spot number 3 are Angles 90 style grips. Now, other brands are available. The grips that I have are the Angles 90, and what these free form grips are great for is 2 benefits, both of which are going to help your back training. The first benefit is that now you can add extra variations to your regular pulls. So anything with a bar like a pull-up or a barbell row or a lat pull down, anything with a long fixed bar, you can now put your wrists in a variety of positions. So you could have 45-degree supinated wrists, you could have 45-degree pronated wrists, angles of grip that you would never normally get with a barbell. Obviously, you can do fully neutral grips. And you can even have your grip rotating throughout the range of motion. So something any fixed bar cannot do, not even something like a mag grip. So you could have it where you're doing barbell rows and your hands go from being pronated at the bottom to supinated when you contract. That in particular is one of my favorite variations. So the first benefit of these angles 90 or free moving style grips is that you can add back variations and move your wrists into the most comfortable and effective position for you. But the second great benefit is that the strap of these grips actually provides a camber on the bars and will extend your range of motion. So this is particularly relevant in barbell rows. For anybody who's not very lean or able to suck their stomach in, you will often barbell row and the bar will hit your stomach before you're able to fully contract your back. However, with these grips, obviously, you're now gripping about 4 or 5 inches above the barbell, so you can pull your hands even further back before the bar hits into you. This is also the same for lat pull downs, and if you have the strength, you can do it on pull-ups. I don't think I can get anywhere close to reaching that level of contraction on a pull-up, particularly at my body weight. However, if you do like pull-ups and you are able to, your range of motion is now going to be extended. So I very much recommend you get these grips for training your back. And to quickly touch on earlier, I said about how regular grips are very useful for back training because your grip normally fatigues before your back. These angles 90 style grips are actually very ergonomic, and I've never found my grip to fatigue before my back using them. They are very comfortable to use, so that is another great benefit of them. And coming in spot number 2 are drop set pins. Now, drop set pins do what they say on the tin. They are literally to assist you with drop sets. However, they make drop sets much more effective. So any weight stack exercise that you're doing drop sets on, things like lat pull downs, tricep push downs, cable crossovers, anything with a weight stack, something like a chest press that is weight stacked, or a quad extension or hamstring curl, you are going to be able to do your drop set much faster, more efficiently, and this is going to massively increase the effectiveness of the drop set. So the whole reason that you do a drop set is to add intensity. You're training at a heavier weight as much as you can, basically to failure, and then you're trying to drop the weight down. However, when you are normally doing an exercise like lat pull downs, you have this crossover period when you're trying to adjust and fiddle around with the weight. It is very annoying, and what it does is it takes the tension off your muscles, allows them to recuperate a bit before you go for the lighter weight. Now, regular drop sets are still good. However, if you have a drop set pin, it makes that process really fast, really simple, and it keeps the tension on the muscles. You would be shocked how weak you actually are with a drop set pin compared to regular drop sets. When I use a drop set pin, I set the pin to half the weight of the original weight, and I can only get about 5 extra reps. So drop set pins are a fantastic inclusion to increase the intensity of your workouts. Also, when you buy them, they're pretty cheap. Once you've bought them, you are going to then program drop sets for yourself, because you're like, well, I've bought the pins now. It'll just be in your bag, you'll pop them in and get cracking. So overall, drop set pins are fantastic for increasing the intensity of your workouts. And coming in spot number 1 are bands. So bands are fantastic in 2 different situations. The first one is when you are actually training in the gym, bands are going to provide a different type of resistance to regular weights. And if you have followed the channel at all, I talk regularly about the law of accommodation. Basically, eventually you plateau if you do the same type of exercises over and over again. And adding bands into your training is going to provide a new training stimulus for your body, something asking you to react to. They're accommodating resistance, so throughout the range of motion, they're getting harder and harder as the band is getting stretched more and more. So on something like a chest press, where at the bottom position when your chest is stretched, you're much weaker, and at the top position when you're contracting, you're much stronger, bands are fantastic because they're going to match that strength curve and make it challenging throughout the entire range of motion. They're also great for exercises that would be too difficult for you to do. They can allow you to do that, so they can get you to do much more pull-ups. If pull-ups are something you want to include in your training because they're a great exercise, but you can only do about 3 pull-ups, that's me by the way, bands are going to allow you to do sets of more like 10, 15, 20. They're also going to allow you to do things like Nordic curls. Nordic curls are a fantastic hamstring exercise, but at the bottom position, they're almost impossible. When you're leaning right over and your hamstrings are stretched, it is so hard to contract your body up and do Nordic curls. The same with GHDs, but if you add a band, that band is stretched at the bottom position and it's going to assist you most where you're weakest and help you get up. It makes Nordic curls actually a viable thing for you to do. So it helps you access exercises you wouldn't normally be able to do in the gym. And the second situation that bands are fantastic for is travel. They can provide a huge amount of resistance, but they obviously weigh nothing to carry. You can have a small set of bands in your bag and take them when you go on holiday and work out in your room. Literally, you don't need to have a gym. So they're fantastic for that reason as well. They're very practical to have. Obviously, if your gym doesn't have things like band pegs, so if you're wanting to use bands on a bench press, if your gym doesn't have band pegs or the weight stacks on things like their chest press doesn't have band pegs, you need to buy a set of band pegs as well, but they're pretty cheap, and bands are shockingly cheap for all the things you can do with them. I think people often think they have to choose between bands or the gym. They see bands as like a home workout product. No, I very much see them as an actual gym workout product. So overall, I find bands the best thing that you should invest in for helping to improve your training. There is also a quick bonus product that I'd like to say, which is I would advise you take your own clips to the gym. This is purely for practicality, but if you've ever had to wrestle with these stupid little silver spiral spring pins and you can't get them on the barbell, that drives me absolutely insane. I always take my own clips because they're very light and easy and cheap to take to the gym. So that's a little bonus. If you are also fed up and it's extending your workouts needlessly, take your own clips to the gym. You can buy an OK set for like £5 on eBay. So honestly, I'd invest in them as well. So that is it for today's video. I hope you did in fact enjoy the video. If you did, drop it a like, drop it a comment, subscribe, click the bell, all of those fantastic things. If you want to get coached by me and you want more useful tips, but really you want me to oversee your actual proper training, there is a link in the description below. Thank you very much for watching and have a great day.